with the MMA and possibly boxing world waiting with bated breath to hear what's next for UFC lightweight champion Conor McGregor. One of the UFC's most listened to personalities gave his take on what the near future might hold. During his October 21st Fight Companion edition of the Joe Rogan Experience, UFC commentator Joe Rogan broke down the possibilities for the Notorious One should he return to the octagon. Transcript via MMA Fighting. Conor made that post to Tony, said Rogan. He made an Instagram post. Grand Theft Auto with him holding a gun, driving a boat. Conor's smart. He realizes that Tony is an unusual, eccentric character. Conor's an unusual, eccentric character, Tony's an unusual, eccentric character too, and Tony has the longest win streak in the UFC's 155-pound division. He's the interim champion and he's the logical fight. Tony Ferguson 233 clinched the UFC's interim lightweight belt after dispatching of Kevin Lee in the main event of UFC 216 on October 7. That victory extended Ferguson's win streak to 10 fights, a run that includes victories over former champion Rafael dos Anjos and top-ranked Edson Barboza. Ferguson's overall Zuffa record is 131, with his lone loss coming against Michael Johnson back in 2012. Despite Ferguson's exciting run of victories and his eccentric character, UFC 216 did not fare well at the box office. MMA Fighting's Dave Meltzer, in his Wrestling Observer newsletter, evaluated the show's pay-per-view buy rate at close to 120,000. That number is similar to what UFC 215 is thought to have drawn a month prior. If those numbers are accurate, UFC 215 and 216 are the first back-to-back UFC pay-per-view events to draw less than 150,000 buys each since 2005, according to MapPayout.com. Even so, Rogan believes that Conor McGregor vs. Tony Ferguson would be a ratings success for the UFC. Conor sells like f***ing crazy, and Conor vs. Tony sells because Tony's a legit threat. Conor vs. a legit threat sells. Conor fighting someone sells, but Conor vs. a legit threat is where it gets interesting. However, Rogan does not believe a clash between Ferguson and McGregor would outperform a trilogy fight between McGregor and Nate Diaz. Rogan stated that McGregor vs. Diaz 3 would have more mainstream appeal based on the gulf in notoriety between Ferguson and the younger Diaz brother. The whole world doesn't know Tony, but the MMA world knows Tony, for sure. But the regular people are the people you really need to get a hold of to buy pay-per-views. Nate is the money fight. But Nate made $4 million over 2 fights and he don't give a FK. He's like, pay me. He beat Conor, and in the second fight he arguably had a draw with Conor. He lost a decision based on a couple people's opinion. Public opinion means a lot, and if you went online and asked people who you think won that fight, I bet you would get very close to 5,050 Nate versus Conor. The big money would be the Nate Diaz fight, even if Nate beat him in the second fight, continued Rogan. You think you can go to the gas station right now and go, hey man, who's Tony Ferguson? If you go to the average person and ask them who Nate Diaz is, way more people are gonna know who he is than Tony. McGregor vs. Diaz at UFC 196 drew an estimated 1,317,000 pay-per-view buys. The sequel, at UFC 202, is estimated to have drawn 1,650,000 buys. According to his trainer Owen Roddy, McGregor could start a training camp soon. Which means we may be close to finding out whether Ferguson, McGregor, or someone else will be the next recipient of a bona fide money fight.